Hi friends, welcome back to Calm in the Chaos Homeschool. Today I'm going to share with you 6 things that really surprised me when I first started homeschooling. Now, these things surprised me even though I was a homeschooler myself growing up for most of my school years. So these are the 6 things that surprised me when I first started homeschooling my own kids. The first thing that surprised me, now I'm going to first relate this to a concern I had about homeschooling. I think that a lot of people who have not started homeschooling have this concern. I was worried that homeschooling my children would make our relationship worse. So I have 4 children. They are all adopted, and 3 of them have ADHD and 1 has autism, and our relationship can be a bit rocky at times. And the one I was most worried and concerned about was my oldest daughter. We clash a lot. We would be in arguments all the time, power struggles. We just really have a hard time sometimes. And I thought that the time away from each other when they're at school would give me a break, give her a break, and just give us some separation so that our relationship can hopefully renew before we see each other again. Well, that is not how it works, actually, or it hasn't been how it worked for us. When we started homeschooling, her anxiety, her stress, her lowered, and her security and her happiness increased. And when that happened, we started getting along so much better. Now, I'm not going to say things are perfect, but we are working together. We're figuring each other out. We're learning each other. I think we're more understanding of each other. And so this has really changed our relationship. And with my other kids, I have no doubt that instead of ruining or harming our relationship, spending so much time together is definitely strengthening our relationship, strengthening our family bonds, helping us to learn to work together better and to be more understanding of each other. So that is the first thing that surprised me about homeschooling. The second thing that surprised me about homeschooling is also a misconception I had. I thought that the people at school, the teachers at school, the experts at school would be better teachers for my own children. Now, I have a teaching degree. I taught 4th grade. I taught ESL, kindergarten to 12th. I've been teaching for years. I can teach other people's children, but I didn't think I could teach my own children. And some of that was that relationship and that conflict and that fear that it would cause more conflict. But some of it was my kids do have special needs. So the experts got to know better how to teach my kids than I do, right? Well, during our short stint of 3 months when they were home and we were teaching them, even though they were actually in public school, it took away those misconceptions. I know my children better than anyone else at school. And just because I'm not trained in those specific areas does not mean that I am not capable of teaching my own children. And so we still do get speech and we still do get OT at the school, half an hour each week kind of thing. But for the general educational purposes, I can provide a better environment in my home that's less distracting, less overstimulating. I can pick curriculum that matches my specific child, and they did that in their resource room and stuff, but they still had small groups. They still had to cater to the kids who were there, but I can pick all those things for my children exactly at the right level that they're at, and I can do that better than the people at school. As well, as much as I love those teachers, they did an amazing job with my children, I can still do it better. And I want to tell you that, even if you're not a certified teacher, I know that, that helps me, I think, be a little more confident and have a little more knowledge maybe going into curriculum picking and stuff. But I want to tell you that if you're that child's parent, you know them better than anyone in the world, and you can figure it out, and you can do an amazing job at teaching your children. So Don't let that be something that keeps you from homeschooling your children. The third thing that surprised me when I first started homeschooling was, like I said, I was homeschooled myself. And when I started looking into homeschooling my own children now, 20 years later, I did not realize there were so many homeschool styles. I didn't know there were homeschool styles. I thought you just homeschooled. I didn't realize there's like unschooling and Charlotte Mason and Montessori and traditional and classical and all those different homeschool styles. I didn't know that that was a thing. Like when I did homeschool, we just did a certain curriculum and we just did it. There was no philosophy or style that I was aware of. So looking into homeschooling, that surprised me. I think it's a good thing that there's different categories for different kinds of homeschooling. I think it gives us a common language that we can use once we know about the different styles, and we can be able to find maybe people who homeschool similarly to us so that we can just develop more communities in that way, and even be more understanding of people who don't homeschool the way that we do. I think it's a good thing, but I didn't know that there were so many different homeschool styles. So that surprised me. The fourth thing that surprised me when I first started homeschooling, I was really surprised at how integrated learning can be when you're doing your learning together all day, every day. I don't know why this was such a shock to me, but I did not realize how little I knew about what my kids were learning when they were at school. I had no idea what they were learning. I didn't know what they were doing in math unless they had a little bit of homework. I didn't know what they were learning in social studies and science. I didn't know what they were writing. I didn't know what they were doing at school. And once you take that and bring that home, you can see the learning happening all the time. And you can facilitate that learning all the time. So we can learn together, and we can learn when we're driving in the van. I can get videos on our unit, whatever unit we're working on, and we can have conversations about what we're learning. It was really hard to have conversations at the dinner table when my kids are away all day long and they don't tell you what they're learning. This way we have a shared experience every day, and we are learning the same things, or at least we are aware of what each other is learning. So that really surprised me, that learning is happening all the time. I just never saw it because I didn't know what they were learning, and I didn't know when they were learning, and I'm just so much more aware of that. The fifth thing that surprised me about homeschooling was how little emphasis is placed on the age and / grade of your child. We do not have to teach our kids grade-specific material. If they're in 4th grade or they're 9 or whatever, they do not have to be doing 4th grade level material in all different areas. You choose exactly where your child is at. We don't want to be picking material that's going to be frustrating them. We want to see learning and growth. We don't want to be hindering our children from learning by causing frustration that causes them to not be able to learn anymore. So that surprised me a little bit about homeschooling. You do not pick material and curriculum based on your child's grade. Now, I kind of knew that, but I didn't realize how it doesn't matter at all what grade your child is working at. As long as your child is learning and growing, you need to meet them where they're at. So if your child doesn't know something, it's so important to go back and make those foundations strong and not be rushing and trying to get them to that grade that they're supposed to be at. And even going into high school, I thought by high school, we surely need to be doing exactly what every other high schooler is doing, until my friend told me, well, if your child was in high school and they have an IEP, they're not going to be doing what every other child is doing. So you're just going to create a curriculum that's going to work for them at their level when they're in high school. I mean, that makes sense. If my child is struggling currently, we can only get that child to where they're going to be at that age. So it makes sense that once they hit high school, we're still going to be doing curriculum that is at their level. That's just how it's going to be. So that was something I didn't realize, I guess, how that worked. And as homeschoolers, that was just something that surprised me. I didn't realize that it was okay to just pick whatever curriculum works for your child at the level that your child is at. So the sixth thing that surprised me when we first started homeschooling was that, now I want to preface this, it may not apply to everyone, but in my life, homeschooling has made it less stressful. It has made my life less stressful. Now that does not seem, it seems very weird. Take all your kids, have them home with you all the time, and your life becomes less stressful. So let me explain what I mean. First of all, when my kids were in school, they had to be on the school bus by 7:20 every morning. Now I have 3 kids with ADHD, 1 with autism. That was not a pretty sight. Trying to get my kids ready and eating and on the bus and all the things by 7:20 in the morning, it did not go well. So that was very stressful. And so that starts our day so stressful. I'm stressed out. The kids are stressed out. And then they go to school and they're in a stressful environment. It was very stressful for my kids. My kids did not do well at school. They were getting in trouble all the time. They were overstimulated. My daughter had anxiety. They had so much stress at school. I might have gotten a break, but they came home and they would be a mess. They would be a mess. My son cried all the time after school. It was just so hard for him to hold it together while he was at school all day. So he'd come home and he would fall apart. And like I said, my relationship with my daughter, we both had stress, and that was causing our relationship to be worse, not better, because we got a break from each other. And then they would come home 3:20, and they have this short amount of time to run around, to play, to do their homework, to eat dinner, to get to bed in time, to be able to wake up again and do it all over again. So really, I was getting the morning time with my children, super stressful, not good on our relationship. And then I was going to be getting the evening time, where we're also trying to get everything done while being able to relax a little bit. If there was homework, the homework was not what I assigned my children. It wasn't what I thought my child needed to do or to learn. It was about what the teacher thought 30 other kids in the class needed to do. And so I'm not saying we had a lot of homework, but every time we did have homework, that was another stress. So we had to sit down and do the homework that someone else assigned my child that may not have been what my child needed at that point in time. So that was stressful. So now we don't have to deal with that early morning. We can create the life, we can create our schedule. We have so much more flexibility. We can say no to things that don't fit our lifestyle and our life. And so it can be less stressful to homeschool your children. And I'm not saying homeschooling your children is not a stressful thing. It can be very stressful. And of course, there are other influences that influence our life that can cause stress. And having your kids at home all the time is not easy. It's not easy. And you have to build in breaks. We do build in breaks. But the environment that we can create at home is a less stressful environment for my children, and it can be less stressful for me because I'm dealing with the children and their stresses as well. So homeschooling has actually been less stressful and caused less stress in my life than I had before. I hope you enjoyed that video. Please, I would love to hear your comments below if there's something else that really surprised you when you started homeschooling. I'm sure other people would like to see that. Let's help the people who are thinking about homeschooling or new to homeschooling. Let them know what is something that they might not expect that surprised you when you first started homeschooling. So thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Bye, everybody.